They say that back in the day, people used to ask each other this question, "What do you do?" And they would respond by stating what they did to earn freedom units. That's pretty weird to think about. Speaking of, do you know what cashiers were? They were people that would in person assist others in getting food or clothing or other items from a store. They would also bring meals to people in restaurants and drive automocars, I think. When the great advancements of artificial intelligence came in that made cashiers unnecessary, these cashiers and other people who worked for freedom units were really mad. They were afraid of losing all their freedom units and thus living without any freedom. Other people who weren't cashiers were afraid too. They said that community interaction was declining because of the smartphones, and that by getting rid of all the cashiers, society would become even more isolated because people wouldn't interact with each other every day. Silly, right? However, some of the futurists could see that having to work for freedom units wasn't going to work anymore, so they were able to convince the federal government to pass the Universal Basic Income Act. In this bill, people were given a set monthly amount of freedom units based on the number of people in the household, and from then on, working for freedom units became optional. People could work for more freedom units if they wanted to, but it wasn't necessary anymore. I asked my grandma about this one since she lived through it. She said at first the country was in chaos. Since no one had to work for freedom units anymore, all of the cashiers quit their workplaces, and many of the cashiers' CEOs stopped working as well. The next 2 years was called the Great Respite. Half of the country stopped working. The history apps say that while everyone had lots of freedom units, the diversity of products sharply decreased for a while because many people did not have an incentive to create anything new. Interestingly, though, while a lot of cashiers quit, many people, especially healers, kept their jobs. I asked Grandma why, and she said it was because those people liked their jobs. It wasn't freedom units driving them, it was purpose and passion. After the Great Respite, a surprisingly large amount of people started to work again. This time, however, their motivations were different. People started to work because they loved their jobs, not out of necessity for freedom units. Work went from fear-based to joy-based. The diversity of products available increased again. Everyone had more time to do what they wanted, and relaxed more too. Everyone's a lot happier nowadays. And nowadays we ask each other, what's your passion, when we want to get to know each other? And for a lot of us, that is our community. I love spending time with my moms, reading about history, and playing with my little sister. I hang out with my friends, and I help my neighbors out with their garden. And on Wednesdays, I like to lay in the backyard and stare at the clouds and dream.